The sun rises in the east, but it sets in the west. So we taking a trip out west to Hollywood to take a look at the West Coast Avengers, the 80s spin-off of the Avengers that had a mini-series and its share of annuals that may be featured in this video. All right, now, eagle-eyed viewers of the Pop Culture Cosmonaut may recognize a few Easter eggs throughout this video, and if you don't know, you don't know, but here we go. This is number 15, and this is West Coast Avengers 35. This cover is by Al Milgrom and Mike Macklin, okay, which came out in April of '88. All right, now this is a beautiful, wonderful, amazing cover that I featured in my Doctor Doom covers of all time. And the reason why this one is number 15 is because where are the West Coast Avengers? This is a Doctor Doom cover for all intents and purposes. The letterbox features are Avengers, but if you didn't know, how would you know? All right. So this cover is beautifully drawn. The colors, the bold inking. You didn't see artwork like this very often in the late 80s. Remember, McFarlane was all the rage, and there was a lot of scratchy, thin, cross-hatching, line work type stuff. You didn't see a lot of this anymore. It strikes fear in the viewer. The eyes of Doom are so expressive, and it's just interesting to see the reflection off his faceplate, the lightning in the background, the man who would be Doom. It's a pretty intimidating cover, but it's our 15th. Let's move on to number 14. Now this one is West Coast Avengers 13, which came out in June of '86. Al Milgrom and Joe Sinnott did this. By the way, one thing I do want to point out about West Coast Avengers is the word mark at the top. Early on in their run, at least in the regular series, they had the thin look to it. The depth was a bit thinner. Later on, it got much thicker. But one thing I can't unsee is the size of the word the. Okay, the is way too big at the top of the cover, takes up too much real estate. That's a waste, and you can't unsee it once you see it. I think that's a mistake. But anyways, this cover, this is my 14th pick. A lot of people I think probably don't even like this cover at all, but to me it was always very memorable. It always stood out in its own way. Graviton rules. Graviton's in the background, but he is in full control. He's got Tigra on a leash. All right, damn. And the Avengers are powerless under his power. Now, look at what he's doing to all of the Avengers here. Of course, Wonder Man is most prominent in the scene here. I think he's the biggest problem with this cover. Something looks off about the way he's drawn. I do like the ground cracking under his hand, though. I think that's a pretty cool effect. But he looks pretty silly, and his costume was awful at this time as well. Iron Man, even with his strength, is struggling to keep himself up. Hawkeye, with his normal human strength, is doing just as well as Iron Man. And Mockingbird just gave up. She's just riding this out. I think she's trying to get the most out of it, and then she's going to smoke a cigarette after this. Anyways, the red background does not bother me on this cover, and I think it's part of what makes it stand out in its own way. Alrighty then, we shall... Oh, by the way, in this issue, before I move on, this issue also features the origin of Graviton. He explains how he got his powers, and how he became the arch villain that he did. Frank Hall is his real name. He's a Canadian supervillain, but he's a big time dude, and he gave the West Coast Avengers some fits indeed. Yeah, let's proceed. We're gonna go on to number 13 on my list. This is the West Coast Avengers 45. This is pretty late in the run, at least in the 80s. February of 89. This is the work of John Byrne. It's unmistakable. Anyways, his West Coast Avengers work was a little so-so. At least below standards of what he was doing 10 years before. At any rate, this is a cool cover. The giant image of the Vision, but he's colorless. The one thing that I love about the Vision is his color scheme. The green, yellow, and red works beautifully on Avengers covers, and it's always a letdown when I see the all-white Vision. But the truth is, this cover, I'm sure you all know, is a clear homage to Avengers 57. And this one, the original is all red, okay? All red. But it's an alarming and dramatic cover, isn't it? Which one is better? I don't know, but the thing is, 45, you can't really look at 45 without thinking of Avengers 57. So I think that's a bit of a weakness. And even Behold the Vision. Behold the Vision is used on both covers. So, you know, I mean, John Byrne, you know, I'm not taking anything away from his work, but he did this a few times where he just basically took the old cover from 20 years before, did his own version of it. I mean, it's pretty cool to do that, but to lean on it in these ways, I don't know. So that's why it's 13 on the list and not much higher, but it's still a pretty cool cover, man. All right, we're going to move on to the next one. This is number 12, and this is West Coast Avengers 12, isn't it? And this one you see 3 villains coming straight at the West Coast Avengers. We've got Zax, this electrical, monstrous, I don't know if I'd call him a dude. I was about to call him a dude. Quantum, and then Half-Life. Half-Life looking like the Bride of Frankenstein on a Saturday night. Hello. Half-Life. All right. But the West Coast Avengers are getting ready to do battle with these 3. And they are all in the shadows, it seems. The color used for them, this, I don't know how to even describe it. I guess it's a greenish blue type of color for all of them, as it really makes the enemies themselves pop out. And the purple background, I think, is a pretty cool effect here for this cover. I'm not saying that the issue is great. I'm not saying that these enemies are awesome or cool. They're you know, you don't really see them very much after these issues, do you? But I think it presents them in a pretty cool way in itself. I give a lot of points to that. I love the color contrast, and I always thought this cover popped in my eye. And by the way, this is the issue where Wonder Man debuts his Christmas tree costume, his festive costume. One of the all-time worst costumes of all time in Marvel Comics. Let me know about that. I might want to do a video one day about all-time worst costumes. Yeah, this is up there. He even had the rockets on his back, on his shoulders. How awkward in general. Come on, man. Yes, and we gotta go to our next one. This is number 11 on the list. West Coast Avengers, number 1, numero uno, baby, of the regular series. This was their regular monthly series. This is the 39-page action epic. And it's a running at the camera cover. Okay, some of y'all might know, you know, if you've watched my other videos, I've got a thing about these. I like to talk about these, okay, where it's kind of a cliche. It's a trope, all right? It's an overused presentation of a superhero team, usually on the number 1 debut issue. This is, you know, following the same formula. But this one, I like this one more than others for some reason. I like that Iron Man is flying up ahead, because, you know, so the flying characters always have to hang back. I like that he's like, nah, screw that. Mockingbird, Tigra, Hawkeye, they're moving at regular speed. There's an explosion, it looks like, in the back, or fireworks. And Wonder Man looks like he is leaping in the air from the concussive blast, like in a lot of action movies. Like, ah, you know. But, you know, that's not how you handle an explosion. You got to play it cool, man. You can't be jumping and screaming. Those shades he's got, you just got to put them down on his eyes and turn and walk away. You walk away from the explosion. Simon Williams. All right. But yeah, I like this cover as a #1 issue. I think it really, you know, the black background with the yellow word mark, the explosions, I think, are what makes it higher on the list than I otherwise would have put it. I love the explosions in the back. That's cool stuff. And by the way, I should mention this came out in June of '85. Al Milgrom, and Joe Sinnott. All right. By the way, Al Milgrom is all over this video, and Joe Sinnott did a hell of a lot of work on West Coast Avengers too. So don't be surprised to hear them again and again. Alrighty then. We're gonna go on to our next one. This is number 10 on the list. This is West Coast Avengers 39. This is going all the way to August of '88, and this was the work of Al Milgrom. I don't know if that's in dispute though. I'm a bit uncertain about that. But this is a old school cover in my opinion. As you see this figure rising from the soil, from the dirt. And of course, I think most comic readers would recognize the Swordsman. The Swordsman, a very old character appearing in Avengers comics. One of my least favorite Avengers, actually. And you see the Vision pointing at him like, hey, what the? Hawkeye is doing a double take. Wonder Man getting discombobulated. He looks like he's losing his balance. And then that green chick in the back, that's Mantis. That's Mantis. All right. Or, yeah, but is this the real Swordsman? Nah, it's like a zombified construct version, I guess, to simplify it. But, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't care about all that. I like the composition of this cover. I like the poses of the Avengers. I like the expressiveness on their face, the reactions. One thing I don't like, I don't know, I know it's on purpose, but how obscured, like how much of the shadow is on Swordsman. It's still unmistakable who he is, but I don't know if maybe if there was a bit more, I don't know if there's something that kind of mucks up the image a bit. I know that was the purpose, but I don't know. Still great cover in itself, and I love the old school touch. Hell yeah. All right, let's go on to our next one on the list. This is going to be number 9, and it's West Coast Avengers 24. Okay, Dominus Rex. Okay, and by the way, this was the conclusion of their time travel saga. It was a legit saga. They were lost in time for about half a year, I think, in comics, like 6 issues or so, give or take. Yeah, but anyways, this again is the work of Al Milgrom, Mike Macklin as well, May of 1987. And where are they? Look at the inside of this environment with Dominus, the villain, up on the higher platform there. And the Avengers below looking like they're getting electrified. And you see, you know, the usual Wonder Man, Iron Man, Mockingbird, Hawkeye. Wait a second. Well, Tigra, of course. Moon Knight is hanging around. You got Firebird there in the bottom above Tigra. And then who is that next to Mockingbird? Who is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Hank Pym, all right? The scientific adventurer. That's what he was calling him, well, called himself at first, coming back into action as a superhero. And he pulls out a baseball bat at some point and just wallops a bunch of these monsters. Yeah, going old school. All right, but where are they? Well, this place that Dominus rules, impressive from the inside. But from the outside, to be very honest, it looks alarmingly like a penis base. I just got to say that. Anyways, I don't know. I guess they're in the urethra of the base to do battle. That's not an ideal situation for anybody, is it? But yeah, Dominus, his alien people, they had an earlier agent named Lucifer who did battle with the X-Men in the 60s. I gotta say, these aliens, coming up with names like Dominus and Lucifer, they must have been Googling Earth. They came here ready with some villainous names, hit the ground running with their villainy. Good work on their part. They picked wisely. But yeah, anyways, I think this cover is just, I like this chamber, or, the shaft. I'll just call it that, whatever. But it really does set off the power of Dominus in this situation and the helplessness of the Avengers here. Good stuff. All right, let's move on to our next one on the list. This is number 8, and it's West Coast Avengers 40. All right, and this work was done all by Al Milgrom. Very distinctive cover. And now, the Night Shift. This team of villains, villains. But this team is led by the Shroud, who you see at the top. He's kind of almost framing this cover with his cape, with his shroud, as you would say. And the Avengers, you got Wonder Man with a proper costume at this point, but he's got a mullet, unfortunately. You see the mullet in the, right here, pretty clearly, with Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Hawkeye back to back, being encircled by these guys. And I'm going to name them off clockwise, I suppose. We got the Shroud at the top, 12 o'clock. You got the Brothers Grimm below him, and moving right, we have the Needle. We have Dancing Macabre. I think they called her Ms. Macabre also. You have the Werewolf by Night here. And down at 6 o'clock, you got TikTok. Tattered Damalion is next to him. Gypsy Moth, and then the Misfit. So this is a well-composed cover. The spotlight in the middle really frames it beautifully. There's some symmetry that the Shroud and the Brothers Grimm at the top really lend it. So it really makes you take a look at everybody and take stock of the whole scene when you look at it, I believe. Yeah. All right, let's go to our next one, however. All right, and this one is West Coast Avengers 26. And this one came out in July of 87. And this is the work of Al Milgrom and Mike Macklin. All right, and it's Zodiac Attack. Very distinctive cover, very memorable issue in my opinion. And you see this is Scorpio right in the middle of things, posing up with his Zodiac key. And that's where this circular power, where it looks like it's some Kirby crackling going on, spiraling out. The West Coast Avengers are in the foreground. All right, we get to see Wonder Man's mullet again. All right. And the Zodiac members are all in shadow. All right. They're all in shadow. And that's an interesting look there. Earlier, we looked at West Coast Avengers 12, where there was Quantum, Half-Life, and Zax. Now, on that one, the villains were all popping with color, and the Avengers themselves were in the shadow, in the foreground. This is the flip side of that. It's the opposite. All right. What do you think works better? All right. Interesting effect, though. I like the colors in the energy from the Zodiac key, which makes the shadowy look make a bit of sense. Now, in this issue, you might wonder why they're enshrouded with darkness. Well, there are deaths involved. There's a murder, or murders, plural. So, this Zodiac you see, are the ones that committed that murder, and Taurus screaming at them, "You killed them. I put my life into this cartel." All right, and there's a lot that goes on in this issue. I'll save that for some other time. But just as far as covers go, I really do think whether you like the Zodiac or not, and I tried to like them, I always felt disappointed by them, but I always wanted to like them more than I did. This cover still appeals to me, but we got to move on to our next one on the list. All right, now we're on to number 6. This is West Coast Avengers 23. All right, now this one came out in April of '87. Al Milgrom did this. This is an extremely memorable issue, and the cover, I think, sells it. All right, you see in this this stormy night, okay, the Mockingbird, Bobby Barton, stands on this cliffside as the Phantom Rider hangs on for dear life. All right, and vengeance cries the Mockingbird as the disembodied heads of the West Coast Avengers appear in the sky, in the lightning, horrified at what is about to transpire. All right, the sky, I think, is beautifully colored here. I like the use of purple and the black behind the lightning itself. The wind, the rocks tumbling, the desperation of the Phantom Rider here, his legs kicking, his hat seemingly falling from his head. And what is Mockingbird going to do? You got to ask yourself that question when you look at this one. This is a great story being told right here in one image. That's the essence of comic book cover art, in my opinion. One image telling enough of a story to make you want to know what happened before and what happened after. Great stuff right here. And the scene itself, resulting in the Phantom Rider's demise, spoiler alert, is quite a dramatic one. And this is beautifully drawn stuff. You see here, Mockingbird had a choice about what to do. And she just let him drop dead. Good stuff. Interesting, powerful stuff. Well drawn. And this carries over in later issues, later storylines. This moment is quite definitive. Yes. By the way, the Phantom Rider was not always called that. He was also called the Knight Rider and the Ghost Rider. He was the original Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider number 1, which came out in '66, I believe, has a beautiful 5-star cover. Check it out, man. This is good work. Yeah, but we got to move on to our next one. And this one is an appearance by a West Coast Avengers annual. Number 1 annual in 1986. This one came out in July of that year. Very distinctive cover with a team that usually didn't work on this. This is Alex Saviuk and Jeff Isherwood. I don't call their names very often in this channel, but this is a well-made cover, ain't it? There are a ton of Avengers on this. But there's a man in the foreground standing above them, and who is that? He stands revealed. The traitor in our midst, says Thor. And let's face it, if you can't figure out who it is, then you're not really paying attention. Look at his hair, y'all. So Quicksilver, with his douchiness, turns it into something a little more pointed at the Avengers here. And take a look. In the foreground, it's the West Coast Avengers. You see Hawkeye, Mockingbird, Iron Man, Tony Stark in his silver Centurion armor, Tigra, and Wonder Man. But you also see others in the background. On the right, you see Hercules, Captain America, Falcon, Black Knight, and Black Panther. Okay, and on the left side, behind Hawkeye and Mockingbird, you see Rhodey as Iron Man in his gold armor, Wasp, Captain Marvel, and Thor with his beard. So man, the Avengers and West Coast Avengers had a lot of firepower in this issue. And in this issue, it's again Zodiac related. All right, but here it's a different LMD Zodiac, and in my opinion, a much cooler group. So you see Gemini, Cancer, Taurus, and Aries. All right, and later on, Quicksilver rounding these up, all 12. There is Libra, Leo, Virgo, and Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio used to be the leader of the other zodiacs, or at least, well, actually, they had rotating leadership, to be honest with you. But Scorpio was the face of the zodiac. Taurus was the money man. But anyways, that all changes too. Yeah, and then of course there's others. You got Pisces looking different here. Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius, who didn't look that well. Yeah, this Aquarius as well. So those are all 12 of the zodiac in this one. It's a well-drawn issue, by the way. Mark Bright did the penciling on this, and a lot of good inking in it as well. But intriguing cover indeed. All right, let's keep it moving. This is West Coast Avengers 19, appearing as my number 4 choice. And in this one, it's called Downtime. So the time travel saga takes control as you see the Avengers themselves spiraling down through time. Okay, and I just think that this is a striking cover that immediately gets your attention as to the emergency situation and the helplessness of the Avengers here. One thing, where's Mockingbird? You don't really see her in this. But look at Hawkeye's face. He takes center stage on this one. I just think it's a very simple cover. The white background, I think, works perfectly with this idea of them just falling through the blankness of time, I suppose. It's well-drawn stuff, though. This is Al Milgrom and Joe Sinnott. All right. Fantastic work, of course. Yes, but we got to move on to number 3 on the list. All right, this is West Coast Avengers 29. Now, this is, you saw earlier the Zodiac issue, number 26. Well, this story arc concludes in 29, and this is Taurus doing battle with Moon Knight out the hatch of an airplane that's on fire and smoking in the night sky. And it says here at the bottom, Moon Knight fights alone. This is Al Milgrom and Mike Macklin. You see their names are right there by the doorway. WCA 29, they wrote that as well. Interesting little touch. All right, I originally wasn't actually going to put this one as high as I did, and the reason why is, I have a principle when it's a team title, I want to see the team on the cover. If it's only one member on the cover, I usually, try to take it down a little bit. But this is just such an intriguing, dramatic cover. I love it. Taurus, in his desperation, pushing Moon Knight out there, hopefully, or at least in his mind, to his death. All right. And Moon Knight does fight alone. This is a thrilling issue. If y'all have never got a chance to read it, I highly urge you to do so. It's a cat and mouse issue. It's a highly paced issue. There's a lot going on as Moon Knight does battle with Taurus throughout the whole issue, basically pursuing him doggedly from one place to another. And Cornelius Van Lunt, who is the Taurus, is in abject terror throughout the entire issue. It's just so interesting to read an issue where the villain is so scared of the hero. And, he commandeers a plane with his Star Blazer gun By the way, Star Blazer, I love that name. If y'all remember the old cartoon, man, the old anime, or Japanimation as we called it back then, Star Blazers, also called Space Battleship Yamato in Japan. One of their all-time greatest cartoons. I love it. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I might bring them up, or that cartoon up, some other time. Yeah, Moon Knight chases him everywhere to the ends of the earth, ending in tragedy, I suppose. But it's a very memorable issue, and the cover, I think, sells it. Yes, we gotta go to our next one. This one is number 2 on the list. Now we've got the West Coast Avengers number 20. This is right in the midst of the time travel saga that they were embroiled in. And this is the Sands of Time written there at the bottom. This to me looks a lot like a Neil Adams type of cover. Look at Hawkeye, his face and his hand, his fingers, the trail, the desperation, but the hand being pulled as he slides down into the Sarlacc pit, like in Star Wars, where Boba Fett was supposed to have died. Yeah, but you see here, look at his bow is even buried. Iron Man looks helpless. He should be the best suited to deal with this. Tigra, yeah, I don't know what she can do even with her cat powers to get out of this. Wonder Man at least has his rockets on his back, but he's still struggling as well. But the struggle is real. You know, they're being buried alive. Buried alive. That's a little Wrath of Khan from Ricardo Montalban. Oh yeah, buried alive. Yeah. But I just love the simplicity of this cover, but I love the depth of it as well. They really do look like they are in a spot of trouble, don't they? You know, they might need to get dug out by those troops in Spaceballs. Sorry, I was going to call it Starballs for a second. Spaceballs, if y'all remember that scene where they're combing the desert. You know, Tuvok from Voyager was in that scene. Yeah, by the way, you know, now might be a good time, you know, for me to mention a little bit of energy I've received from a beverage. But, you know, y'all better play ball with yours truly, because I've seen that Bob Ross has an energy drink out. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was at Toys R Us, and I saw a Bob Ross energy drink. That's dope, man. That's ironic as hell. And I'm a disciple of Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross, but he was a mellow dude. But yeah, I might cross over if I don't see the money. All right, but anyways, the Sands of Time. Hopefully they don't get lost in the sand. We gotta move on to numero uno, baby. All right, I wonder what it's gonna be. Don't forget, I said I was gonna include the mini-series as well. And my number 1 is West Coast Avengers number 3 of their 4-issue limited series, which came out before their monthly series. This one came out in July of '84. All right. And you see, this one has a different word mark. I actually like this word mark. I prefer this word mark over the one they used later. But anyways, it's Graviton. Once again, it's Graviton. And by the way, this is the work of Bob Hall and Brett Breeding. We haven't seen their names in this video until now. I love the power that Graviton is exhibiting here, the pose that he's striking. And look at the Avengers. They're caught in the spin cycle, you know, in the washing machine here. Tigra doesn't have a tail in this one. When did she grow a tail? Does anybody know which issue Tigra grows a tail? Anyways, you got Hawkeye losing his arrows. They're getting all flown about. Wonder Man, you know, he's off balance. Mockingbird has a pretty interesting look in this one. Her costume looking pretty cool. And that's Rhodey, by the way, as Iron Man right there. So there you go. That's West Coast Avengers number 3 limited issue. There's no word bubble. There's no words. There's no text. I love the colors around Graviton. I love the the dynamic movement of the Avengers being spun about. I think this is cool as hell, man. This is great work. This is my number one. I'm unapologetic about it. This is great stuff. Yeah, y'all, that was my 15 West Coast Avengers covers of all time. Yeah. What do y'all think? You know, to be honest with you, West Coast Avengers wasn't the greatest series. They're not all 5-star covers in this video. I understand that. But still pretty cool stuff. Still pretty cool stuff. By the way, did y'all check out those Easter eggs throughout the video? Yeah, those are some West Coast classics. All right, if you're into old school hip hop, old school 90s hip hop mostly. If you can identify all of them, all of those albums, you might get eligible to win JPEG for this group right here, this album from GPS. All right, Gangsters Passing Shortcuts with their debut album, You Better Ask Somebody. All right, and this album features hits like We Know Where You Live. All right, Backseat Driving, Where We At, Check the Map. All right, and We Lost Out Here. All right, this is good stuff right here. All right, y'all. That was the West Coast Avengers. You better like, you better comment, you better subscribe, or you better vamoose. Okay, hit the bricks if you're not down with that. But if you're down with the pop culture cosmonaut, stick around, because we're gonna be back in no time.